Do you know that these countries might simply disappear by 2050? That's not science fiction, it could very well become reality for some nations over the next few decades. Hi friends! Welcome to my brand new channel. Don't forget to subscribe, if not done it already. Let's move to today's topic, let's go! In this video we'll explore some of those countries at risk, why they face this fate, what the consequences might be, and what it means for all of us. Because when one country vanishes, the ripple effects are enormous culturally, environmentally, and geopolitically. How does a country vanish? It might mean large parts of its land becoming uninhabitable or underwater, forcing mass migration or loss of sovereignty. It might mean the population relocates, and the country loses its functional existence. It may not mean immediate disappearance overnight, but a slow erasure of territory, identity, and viability. Why is this happening? The leading cause: rising sea levels and climate change. Low-lying island nations and coastal states are especially vulnerable. Also, coastal erosion, saltwater intrusion, more frequent storms, and subsidence. So, while the idea sounds dramatic, the science backs a real risk. Let's explore some of the most vulnerable countries, their profile, threats, and what may happen. The Maldives is one of the flattest countries in the world, an archipelago of around 1,200 small coral islands. Its average elevation is extremely low, just about 1 meter above sea level in many places. According to projections, if sea level rises by just 45 centimeters this century, Maldives could lose 75% of its land area. What happens then? Saltwater intrusion ruins fresh water, coastal erosion destroys homes, people may be forced to relocate. So the Maldives is high on the list as a country that could, in effect, vanish or lose much of its identity as an inhabited territory. Kiribati is a nation of 33 coral atolls and islands in the Pacific Ocean. None of its islands rise more than 4 meters above sea level, making them extremely vulnerable. Studies show the land doesn't necessarily lift as the sea rises, so the islands remain at risk of being inundated or becoming non-viable. Kiribati is often cited as one of the first, if not the first, countries to face potential disappearance or forced migration due to sea level rise. Tuvalu is a tiny island nation in the South Pacific, with several atolls and coral islands, many only a few meters above sea level. Because of its small land area and low height, any significant rise in sea level threatens its habitability and sovereignty. It showcases the moral dimension. These are among the countries that help least with climate change but face disproportionate damage. The Marshall Islands, another Pacific atoll nation, are already experiencing erosion, sea encroachment, and saltwater intrusion. One study found that with a 1-meter rise, about 40% of the country's buildings, in its capital, could be permanently inundated. In short, a very real risk of vanishing land and displacement of communities. These Pacific Island nations are somewhat higher than the ultra-flat atoll states, but still highly vulnerable. In Fiji, for example, entire villages have already moved inland uphill because their coastal land was becoming uninhabitable. Vanuatu faces risks from both rising seas and increased cyclone activity. Why now? The science and timing. Sea level rise is already underway and accelerating. Coastal and island nations have little buffer if their elevation is just a few meters. Some projections suggest major land loss by 2050 for the most vulnerable. Adaptation matters. Some countries with higher elevation or strong infrastructure, like Netherlands, might survive because they build sea defenses. The difference lies in resources and geography. But for very low-lying atolls, adaptation may be extremely limited. But what are the consequences if a country vanishes? Populations may have to mass migrate, becoming climate refugees. Indigenous traditions tied to land, sea, and local identity may be lost or transplanted. If land disappears, What happens to the legal status of the country? Its rights in international law? Loss of ecosystems, mangroves, coral reefs, which protect coasts, support biodiversity and fisheries. Small states vanish while large emitter countries continue high emissions, raises issues of climate justice. Tourism, fishing, agriculture take huge hits in these nations. If some countries vanish, it's a dramatic sign for global climate urgency. What can be done? Some countries are planning ahead by relocating villages, building seawalls, raising homes, planting mangroves. International climate finance and loss and damage mechanisms matter. Reducing emissions globally helps slow sea level rise, giving vulnerable states more time. Recognizing climate refugees and preparing legal frameworks. However, for very low-lying islands, there might simply be no way to fully hold back the sea. Why this matters to you? Even if you live far from a Pacific island, you're part of the same ocean system. Rising seas will affect coastlines everywhere. The story of tiny vulnerable nations is a warning and an inspiration. How we treat them reflects our humanity and shared fate. It's a narrative of survival, loss, hope and action. Because when a country disappears, the world loses far more than land, it loses heritage, humanity, and connection. What are your thoughts on this? I spend a lot of time researching these articles. If you like this information, please subscribe and help me grow my channel. You can find the details of channels in my bio and description. Faint Whispers on YouTube, Faint Whispers on TikTok, and Doodle Snips on YouTube for short animated videos.